ChatGPT started to become popular, and I was horrified. This looks awful.
They haven't figured out how to really tweak AI to do what you want it to do on a granular level and to get complete control of it. I didn't come from the world of like being an NFT guy or like a crypto bro or something and like jumping in AI. I'm 15 times more productive with AI than I am without it.
Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guests, David Garfinkel and Jason Parker. David and Jason, thank you for being here.
Welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet.
This is a first on the KHP, and we always look forward to things like that. This is our first 3-person podcast, so we're going to have fun with that. I know it'll lead to some good conversation, I hope, and some value to our listeners. So let's just jump right in. I guess, David, I'll start with you. Your career has evolved. I like when it said in your bio reads, and we'll put your bio obviously in the show notes, that you weren't a believer in AI and then you jumped into it. Or then you became a believer. So I guess, can you tell us about that evolution of starting in an industry, seeing it evolve, and how your hustle or viewpoint or relationship with that kind of evolved as well?
Sure. So I have been a professional writer my whole career. I started out as a business journalist, and about 30 years ago, I became a direct response advertising copywriter. And I'm also a copywriting coach now. I help other people, not beginners, but people who are a little advanced in their work, get better. When ChatGPT started to become popular, some friends of mine who were not copywriters, but who were marketers and who understood direct response, maybe at an operational level, but not at a writing level, not understanding the workflow, just sort of understanding the pieces and the dynamics and how they work. They started showing me stuff, and I was horrified. I thought, this looks awful. If you ever tried to use this in your advertising or your content, people would look at it and turn away or, feel bad, feel disgusted. It's certainly how I felt. And they would say things to me like, well, it's better than most people can do. And my thought was, that doesn't matter. In the marketplace, you're not being graded on a curve. Either people go for it or they don't. And people are not going to go for it. And I think it's dangerous to be showing people who don't know how to write that AI can now write for you when it can't. So that was my point of view. And I saw something on LinkedIn, a copywriter who worked for Jason. Now, I've known Jason for a long time. In fact, I mentored him about 12 years ago. Doesn't mean I'm his mentor now. It's the reverse. He's mentoring me and using AI and copy. Well, I would.
Well, I'm going to get there. I'm getting there. It's a setup, so I want you to finish, and then then Jason and I are going to millennial take this thing over.
Great. Oh, man. I can hear the OK boomers coming already. Brian Halpin, who was working with Jason, said that they had created a video sales letter that had made $1 million for a client, and 80% of it was written by AI. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if any of this is true. I wonder if he's doing anything different. And Brian put me in touch with Jason, and we talked, and Jason was very patient, and he sent me Loom videos and other videos, and I saw what he was doing, and I had him on my podcast, Copywriters Podcast, and I was kind of blown away. And then my co-host, Nathan, said, we got to have him back. And so we had him back the second time. I said, where do I sign? How do I get into your mastermind? And um, Jason gave us a link, and we joined. Both of us did. And once I started seeing how he was doing things differently, and once I started doing things myself, especially sales oriented organic posts on LinkedIn for my book, The Persuasion Story Code, I was hooked and I became obsessed. And I would spend the one day off that
I knew
I
you would.
yeah, I promised myself I wouldn't do anything on Saturdays, and I would spend 14 hours on Saturday trying stuff. And so that's how.
Well, so I want to now ask Jason, I want to flip the script a little bit and say, you're an early adopter, I believe, of the whole AI thing, or I don't know, maybe not, maybe early adopter is not even the appropriate term or the most respectful term. An early dominator, in that I looked at it from afar. David said he looked at it from afar. We obviously come at this from different angles, but you were all in. And then you had to convince people like David, who were in an industry that thought you were nuts, or
Still have
thought
to
the
do that.
product was nuts. Right? Still do, but a different nuts, meaning right now he just knows you're nuts, but that has nothing to do with AI or anything
In
else
a
like
good
that.
way.
See,
Hopefully
we're
in a good
picking this. We're becoming family here, but what is it like as we talk about hustle and redefining and defining careers and doing things like that? What is it like when the whole world, it seems like, is telling you that this is stupid and this is crazy and this is never going to work, or it's the apocalypse? Meaning, I feel like the early dominators of AI and ChatGPT, that's all people probably told you. Either if you're ready, it's the apocalypse, I'm just going to put my blinders on, I don't really want to talk to you ever again, or you're totally nuts and you're an idiot and there's no way that this thing can be grammatically correct. And by the way, just a shameless plug here that has nothing to do with me, but for all those parents of teenage or preteen children whose children are in some sort of educational institution that teaches them mathematics specifically that parents don't understand, ChatGPT is game changing as it relates to help assisting your children in completing their mathematics homework. We don't use it for anything else. My kids don't see it, but when my wife and I have no idea what's going on in my daughter's algebra class, it's game changing. But anyway, that was a sidebar. So Jason, that's my question to you, is like, how do you keep that focus and that drive forward when all the outside noise is against you?
Yeah, I think I have to be patient with people because I have to realize that I've gone way far down this rabbit hole with AI that they haven't gone down, and they haven't figured out how to really tweak AI to do what you want it to do on a granular level and to get complete control of it. And I have to think about a lot of people have been 20-year copywriters like me, and they're gonna need a lot of convincing, like David did. I didn't expect David to come on and be like, "This is great," without seeing anything. I had to feed David. I said, "Yeah, I created this campaign with AI. I did this campaign with AI, and I did Loom videos of me working through it, of doing it." And I think that seeing is believing. And anyone who really understands copywriting, I don't expect them to come along and just blindly believe anything anyone says, especially with AI when everybody's out there getting burned, and with all the AI blindness, and then the solution's not really adding up. It's you really have to prove it to them. You have to show them that really when people come in, first thing I do is I work real hard to help people get the result they want right off the bat. So I do a lot of little one-on-ones to people to get them up to speed, getting them the result, and show them there's something out there that's different than what they're seeing. I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
So I guess, right, I mean, I guess if people who are not willing to listen, this is a great life lesson. People who are not willing to listen are not worth your time, and people that are willing to listen, you have to have enough confidence that you can convince them that at least you're, not nuts,
Yeah.
whether they buy
Well,
it
you
or
have
not.
to be in enough pain to come to me and David. So you have to be like where I was when I started with AI, and I was
Did you
getting crushed with the work.
well, so I'm going to ask you about that, and David, maybe, and you'll answer this one second if you don't mind. Like, what is, when you say you have to be in pain, do you see more people being pained, forced into the AI thing, or curiosity? And which one do you think is a better way to approach it? Let's start
Is
with
this a
you on
David
that, Jason.
question?
No, it's
Okay,
a
sure.
Jason question. I'm going to ask you.
Yeah. If I look back to what got me started, I wasn't just a believer in AI at the beginning. In fact, I was kind of looking at like a thesaurus or something, like something I could use. But the day came where I had 8 to 10 clients, and I needed to either hire a bunch of more copywriters to work under me or figure out AI. And I thought I could save a lot of money if I figure out AI. But I've noticed this as a trend with everybody pretty much who comes my way, and they're in a lot of pain because they're getting crushed with workload, and they're using AI. When they use AI, they're finding they have to rewrite everything they're generating, and they think I would might as well have just written the whole thing myself, at the beginning when they do use AI. So I feel where people are coming from with that because I was in the exact boat, but I didn't come from the world of like being an NFT guy or like a crypto bro or something and like jumping in AI. It's because my agency absolutely needed it and it was a necessity. And that's I think people come to me and David and Scott and Novus because it's a necessity when you get to a certain point. You're just getting you don't have any time to go to your kid's baseball game anymore, or you're sacrificing your family dinners because you're crushed in workload, but you have a problem of success. It's like you have those golden chains, to your desk.
100%. And David, didn't you come at it from a perspective and from a place of curiosity?
I did.
I want to say skepticism and curiosity, but not a place of
Well,
need and you know
I
what I mean?
was, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I was staying away from it because of the skepticism. I mean, I was not interested. But when someone with some credibility operating in what I consider the real world in my industry, copywriting, um, sa- said something different, and then it was, you know, being honchoed by someone I knew and respected, I became very curious. And um, the curiosity led me to explore it and explore it. But when I actually thought about using it, it wasn't curiosity anymore. It was the fact, okay, so last year I came out with a new book, The Persuasion Story Code. And my chosen way to promote it was to write um, organic LinkedIn posts that would give a little lesson and with a call to action. And those are very hard to write because you only have 2,500 characters. And also, coming up with a new topic every day is not the easiest thing. So I was in pain, but I didn't look at it that way. I was, putting maybe 2 hours a day into this, but you figure you got to do what you got to do to write a book. When I realized maybe there's a faster way to do it, and as soon as I got in the mastermind, before we even formed Novus, this was earlier, Jason invited Scott and me in later because we were both so obsessive. But um, Jason helped me put together, or really put together for me, um, an agent, an AI agent that would write the posts 15 minutes, and they didn't require much editing. So all of a sudden, I was down from 2 hours to 15 minutes. Then I started finding other things. I mean,
I thought you were going to say that AI wrote the book, so I was getting really excited.
No. I think there's some kind of books AI can write. I don't think AI could have written that particular book. But okay, my podcast. So I do some podcasts like we're doing right now, like you do, but I do a lot of podcasts where it's more of a lesson and or a rant, and I'm not good going on for half an hour a cappella, improv style. I need a script, and I could spend a couple days writing the scripts. Last night, I wrote a script on 12 last minute things copywriters can do, um, to increase Christmas sales using AI, and the whole thing with one edit almost completed, 2 hours. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm, having been a writer for a long time, I'm used to endless days and things taking twice as long as they expect. That's just the life. But now I have all this free time. What am I going to do with it, Aaron? I don't know.
Well, that gets to a question of hustle, and I think that's another aspect of AI, and especially as it relates to this podcast of the idea of keep hustling, and that is how do people evolve their hustle when new tools come, or when new challenges come, or when new life events come. And so, Jason, I'll start with you. How do you think people are embracing AI, or the best way that someone can embrace AI to strengthen and and pivot or reevaluate their hustle but not lose it, as opposed to those that end up, as you said, coming from a place of defense. And then I feel like whenever you come to something in life from a reactive perspective and you're on your heels, it's never as exciting or impactful, positively impactful, as if you come at it head on. And if it's something that you desire to make more time to spend with your family. David, you joke that what do you do with this free time? But how lucky are we that we have tools that can let us enjoy, you know, um, hobbies or family time or other things and literally create more time in the day. So Jason, my question is, kind of how do you see that with people that you've worked
Mhm.
with, that it evolves in their own lives and in their own careers,
There's a
not
lot
just
of
from the
different ways.
necessity.
Yeah. So I'll give you a few examples. So I used to lead the writing team at a company called Launch Medical, and we did 34 million in sales in 1 year. And I had a whole writing team under me. Also, when I had my own agency, I had writers under me. But now I look at it like it's me and AI. Okay, so I'm able to do the work of the whole writing team myself. So that's one way. You are a one man writing team. I think that's a good way to look at it. I mean, that's just one thing, but also I do CMO work. So having a lot of the AI doing the heavy lifting with AI copy, it allows me to do a lot of strategy work then, like work with media buyers on strategy, work with the conversion rate optimizer specialists, plan campaigns, plan future products. So I feel like there's a bright future for people who take AI and they use it for heavy lifting and become a more well-rounded marketer in general. I call them becoming a full stack marketer. So that would be like someone who can do CRO, media buying, and copywriting, and AI video. It doesn't mean you have to do all that, but I use it, for example, as a CMO. But I'm a CMO right now with a strength in copywriting is the way I look at it. Like copywriting is always going to be my strength, but AI allows me to not just have to focus on the trees. I can actually look at the forest. That's the way I look at it. I don't think people should be afraid of AI. And at first, I was pretty afraid in terms of it taking over your career and all this kind of stuff. But if you look at all what's available, what you can actually do with it, you can become this full stack marketer if you want to. You can use it to create certain deals with clients that you wouldn't have created before. I feel like there are a lot of benefits to having an AI powered writer, in that I can write as much as a writing team can do. So I can make a sort of deal with a company, for example, where I get a percentage of that company plus a base, which I do now. That's what I do now. And that's not the kind of deal that I would do if I were just a copywriter. They might pay me for a one-off or whatnot. But there's value in having a copywriter who can crank out a VSL this month, as well as a webinar, as well as like 30 emails, as well as every Facebook ad you're going to need, everything. Like there's value in that. So it opens up opportunities to create unique types of deals that I don't think you could have made before if you didn't have AI to leverage as a sort of power tool for marketers.
So I feel like what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that those people that embrace the AI will see that it is a superpower, but you still have to have the power. I mean, you still have to have the foundation.
Mhm.
Maybe what we've learned is that it can't replace basic experience and knowledge, but it's a tool. Meaning you still have to know the basics of copywriting and how copywriting works and a little bit about marketing, because you have to teach the bot, correct me if I'm wrong, and you have to make sure that it's right and that it's evolving. But then
Wait,
you have this army and this suite, this crazy toolbox behind you. And
mhm.
if you use it right, you've now leapfrogged the competition.
It's no different in my mind as being a carpenter who used to just have a hammer and a nail and a twisty screwdriver versus a carpenter who has power tools. That's all it is in my mind. But I look at AI as an extension of what I'm already doing. I'm not looking at it as something external. It's like a second brain to me, and it's like an extension of myself. And we build agents and bots that are more or less writing exactly the way we would, or producing what we would anyway. It's a way to amplify what we're doing, or scale what I'm already doing, through artificial intelligence. It's not something totally different than that.
David, what do you think is the biggest misconception about AI?
Well, kind of the biggest misconception is the opposite of what Jason said. People think that AI is a genie, a genie in a bottle, and you're going to give it some poorly formed thought as a prompt, and it's going to figure out what you really mean and figure out how to execute it, when in fact, if in our world, like Gary Halbert is, he's passed, but he was one of the greatest influences, certainly one of mine, I think one of Jason's,
Mhm.
as a copywriter. And a lot of people would think they could put a prompt into Chat GPT that says, write as if you were Gary Halbert, give me a sales letter for X. And it would write this awful crap because it doesn't know who Gary Halbert was, or even if it does, it doesn't know how he wrote, or even if it does, it doesn't know how to make the decisions that a writer makes to write in that way. And a lot of people don't understand an AI is an extension of your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, your can do, your how to. It's not a magic button that you push and all your problems go away.
I think I kind of assumed you were going to go there in that I think that most people believe that it's much, obviously everyone knows that it's complex, but it's much simpler to use. I feel like it's one of those things where I mean, I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg and just beginning my journey with AI, but
Hmm.
that the more you put in, the more you teach it, the more it evolves. Like you said, something before, like you have an agent bot. I feel like that agent bot has to be raised like a child in that it has to be trained and molded or, I mean, let me change that. Not a child, but an employee, let's say, a mentee, in that by you prompting and molding and commenting and giving feedback, it learns how to put the package together. So the next time when you ask for a project, it feeds it back to you in your way. Yet most people think that they can just say, hey, ChatGPT, give me copyright for the perfect LinkedIn post as an insurance agent in New York, and boom. Meanwhile, there's probably 1,000 better details that I could put in there that would get me an actual viable, profitable prompt there. So I don't know. Can I ask? I mean, I try not to get political or jump into anything that's like off the rails here, but can I ask both of your opinions on like fake AI and how we stop that? Even though it has nothing to do with hustle, I'm just curious, like
Sure.
where you see that as the foremost AI experts that I've ever had in this podcast.
Yeah.
That's-
I think that, there's a big difference between AI that's coming just out of the box and LLM. You open up Chat GPT, that's just out of the box, has no pre-programming to it or anything like that. Huge difference between that and creating a bot or an agent. So an agent can be pretty robust or it can be more simple, but all in all, it's something that's pre-programmed to write like you in terms of what we do. If you have just an LLM out of the box, you're getting an AI that sounds very generic, AI copy that sounds very generic, and people kind of they're exploring that. Most people are at that phase, at this bottom of this ladder of AI, where they're cranking out tons of generic AI copy, and there's AI copy blindness at that level. Everyone can spot it and they hate it. And it has nothing to do with what you can produce up here at the top of this ladder when
but
you
isn't that like anything in
pre-program it.
life? Isn't that like any industry? Meaning, do people assume that AI will be different than anything else that if you don't put everything else in life, our parents taught us you have to put the effort in, you have to work, you have to become an expert, you have to, right? Is that what you're saying? That that's the key to long-term AI success?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has misconceptions about what it is and what it can do, and what it's supposed to be doing for them. But the way we look at it, our interest is in making a second brain and turning AI into a second brain or exact extension of yourself that allows you to scale what you're already doing. So scaling your brand voice, for example, with AI. But there's a lot of different ways to approach this. There's the generic kind of AI. There's templated sort of AI that it can be okay. But our interest is kind of way up here where we have authentic AI. That's what we call it, and it's really what you want to do is you want to scale what you're already doing. So I write 15 times faster, something like that. I'm 15 times more productive with AI than I am without it. That's what I, at least when it comes to emails, I figured that out the other day. That I write emails 15 times faster because it used to take me 2 weeks. Now it takes me 2 hours to be done, like
Have you
polish
gotten to the
everything.
point? Have you gotten to the point where the AI bot or agent is so good that you find that you have to that could almost work on its own, meaning you don't have to proofread what it writes, or it can respond to emails on your behalf or things like that.
Yeah, agents, I think it's heading there, especially with GPT-5 that's going to be coming out. It's going to be more autonomous, and I mean, you can let it run. You're going to be able to let it run, and it's going to write, within your agents and whatnot. And you'll just walk away, maybe go have a coffee, come back, and there'll be 1,000 pages of copy sitting there. Still needs the human eye at that point, but you could
Yeah,
get 1,000 pages of pretty good copy written on autopilot pretty soon, just doing nothing.
yeah. I don't think we've made this clear enough to you, Aaron. We pre-program these agents to the point where it sounds like you. It sounds like something you would write. It makes the same word choices, speaks in the same rhythm, uses the same kind of emotional inflection. Now,
Is my mother going to catch its grammatical errors? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
yeah, if you make grammatical errors, it'll make grammatical errors,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah, and when I write something, I have to go over it 3 or 4 times. So I'll go over anything the AI writes, but I have, that thing I wrote last night. I wrote about 3,000 words. It's a podcast with the interaction with my host. It'll be about half an hour. There wasn't one grammatical error in there. There wasn't one thing that sounded like AI. It didn't sound exactly like me, but it sounded a lot like me. But it really did sound conversational and business-like, focused for a direct response audience of entrepreneurs and business owners. So in some ways we're already there, but I'm not sure. And I mean, the Beatles, for example. I know the Beatles are way dated and stuff, but when they could do
Who's
a
that?
record. All right,
Hey,
very funny.
ChatGPT, who the Beatles? Just kidding. Sorry.
Very funny. They could do a recording of a song 80 or 100 times, and they were the freaking Beatles, you know. Um, so, but the problem we were having before we started using, these authentic AI agents, is it wasn't a matter of proofreading or changing phrase here. It was like the whole thing was soggy and bloated and murky. It wasn't good. It didn't look like a professional or even like a beginning writer wrote it.
That's amazing. And now it's evolved. And it's evolving.
It's evolved if you use the right kind of. See, you'll use a prompt on ChatGPT. It might be a word, it might be a paragraph. You might have a really long one that's 3 paragraphs. We have a system that's not proprietary to us. Anyone can get it, $20 a month, called Poe, like Edgar Allan, and then that allows you to save long prompts inside of agents. Now, we're developing our own proprietary platform, which we'll have in a few months, but right now we're using that. And Jason does most of the prompt writing. His prompts are like 6, 10 pages long. They're really
Yikes.
long. It's so that's the pre-programming, but that allows you to say, I'm doing a Christmas special for the Keep Hustle podcast. We're selling these Keep Hustle mugs and cozies. And could you give me a 10 email sequence? And 2 minutes later, and you got 10 emails you can send out to a list that will sell the mugs and the cozies. I mean, that's amazing. And then you could do it for, my business, or for Jason's business, or for Jason's cousin's business, or for your mom's proofreading business, or anything.
No, she just proofreads for fun. But yeah, I hear that. I feel like that this is one of those podcasts that we'll come back to in a year, hopefully, and we'll do it again, and things will be totally different, but yet so the same. And I think that that's one of the things that people underestimate about AI and about the evolution, is that it's not the invention is the robot, for lack of a better term, but there's not the work and the expertise and the genius of the human is not being replaced. It's just being enhanced with a superpower.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah,
that if
yeah.
nothing else,
It's
That
gonna
nothing else,
states the
as
opposite of
people
well.
everything.
as
That
people
states it
listen to this, that's what can inspire their hustle. Is that very few people will be replaced, or those that will be replaced are those people that weren't really significant to begin with. And I don't mean to knock anybody, but the point I'm making is those people that are not going to put the effort in and become the experts and become the top of their field in using this technology would not have anyway, because they would have been lazy, or they would have
yeah.
not
I
embraced the
mean,
next thing, like the internet or like email. So
yeah. I mean, think about what we've been saying. Until we knew, and I don't think Jason knew right away, and I sure didn't, until we knew how to give the right instructions and even how to store those instructions in like 10-page chunks into an AI agent, all the expertise in the world didn't matter. You know, I could be the world's greatest copywriter. I'm not, by the way. I'm a good one, but it wouldn't matter. Once I know how to give the instructions, I don't even have to be the greatest copywriter. I just need to be able to give it instructions to write really great copy.
I love that. Okay, we're gonna have to do this again. We got a lot more to dig into. We ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational, inspirational quote and what it means to them in their hustle. Thank you both for being here, Jason and David. Again, this has been super. I don't even know how to digest this one. It's going to take me a little while, but I like that. Inspired my hustle. So Jason will begin with you, and then to David, your favorite motivational, inspirational quote as not prompted by ChatGPT.
Ooh, okay. There's only one that comes to mind. It's just be the change you want to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma
I'll
Gandhi.
say. And I'll say lately I have been thinking about this actually in terms of AI, because I do want to help people become full stack marketers to where they can go through the age of AI and make it work for them instead of being afraid. So that is important to me. I feel like that would be helpful.
I love that. And David?
Yeah. I don't know who came up with this, but I heard it first from Harvey McKay, the guy who wrote Swim with the Sharks and was an envelope manufacturer. Um, People don't care what you know until they know that you care. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And it basically says the smartest guy in the room ain't going to get nowhere if the people he's trying to sell don't feel like he has any idea who they are or what's important to them.
David Garfinkel and Jason Parker, you guys are geniuses. You're true hustlers. Thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good and always keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.